A trip to Manila. The vacation that wasn't so relaxing as promised. What up, everybody? Some Red Dreaded Entertainment here in Akasan with you right now. And I just wanted to go ahead and add in more of the story, or, podcast or something like that. In terms of what was going on with my video here with the trip to the Philippines. So, let's sit back and relax, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of what happened in Manila. And also, I have a new mic I wanted to try out. A long time ago in a faraway country of Asia, there was Manila. Anyways, well, I'm just gonna do this in one take here. This was a beautiful hotel, actually, and I really enjoyed this hotel. Had I known things were gonna plan out the way they did, well, I would have replanned it a little bit, and I've actually would have swum in the hotel. Would have stayed in the pool the whole time. We've been planning this trip for quite some time, and I mentioned in the weekly Wednesday What's Up quite some time ago. I've been dieting for like the last 3 to 4 months. I was on this healthy plan to slim down. I bought 2 sexy ass bikinis, not for myself, but Harley Quinn and the Batman. And if you're on my Twitter, you probably have been seeing everything I've been building up for, everything we've been building up for. And like I mentioned in my weekly Wednesday What's Up, this trip to Manila was supposed to be the vacation after my Los Angeles business trip. That shit was all a business trip in Los Angeles, collaborations on all that. I was tired. So I just wanted to just kind of take a break and chill somewhere. And this was kind of the compromise, considering that my girl did not get a chance to come to Los Angeles with me. And here's the thing. A lot of you guys don't know, but in Japan, Japanese people generally only get 2 weeks of the year off, and 1 week in summer, 1 week in spring, and if they're lucky, they get a few days around Christmas time. Christmas is not celebrated in Japan the same way it is celebrated in the States or somewhere else. So this was kind of a big deal. This was the one time that she could actually get some time off, a whole week off, and that was a big thing. And we were really banking on this trip to be great, and it's just kind of disappointing, especially because you can't take off different weeks. Most companies you can't reserve a vacation week to take off. You're given an allotted time, and that's during something called the Obon Festival, plus Golden Week. And usually Golden Week, most people can't travel around too much. But Obon is really the time where you can, if you get a chance, you can go on holidays. You know what? I take that back. A lot of people do go on holiday during Golden Week, and it's Obon is the time they go back and visit their family or so. But you guys see what I'm saying? It's a set sort of situation. And what happened here is that during Obon in Japan, it's super hot, it's super humid, and the time difference between Japan and the Philippines is about 1 hour. So, all of us, I don't blame anybody for this sort of mistake. But we just assumed, okay, if it's an hour difference, just like New York, well, I guess I just answered my own question. But just like the difference between LA and New York, 3 hours difference. I don't know, somewhere around the time, we just assumed that if it was just an hour difference, the weather wasn't going to be too bad. It's Asia, Asia, basically. We couldn't have been more wrong. As you can see coming up in this video, it was extremely rainy and it was extremely depressing everywhere we went. I was actually very surprised because a lot of my Filipino friends had warned me that staying in Manila, you're not going to be able to see too much, and there's the torrential rain that was coming down. We came in right during, I guess, rainy season. Cebu was a very popular island we were trying to get to, as you saw earlier in the video if you watched the original one. That was the island we were trying to get to, and I love my brother to death, but I don't know. I mean, he's been there, I think, a little bit over a year, but I guess he just wasn't really familiar with how to take care of people visiting. And he just kind of left it up to Joanne, the girl in the video, who, was a Philippine native, and she was trying to do her best to get us to, Cebu, but we went to book the tickets the day of. And, me being out of town, had I known that was going to be an issue, my idea was, I just assumed it was going to be the same as going to Korea or something like that when I was in Fukuoka. You just kind of, if you want to, you can show up the day of and get tickets out, or you just ride a boat, like some of the videos I saw on YouTube. But apparently that wasn't the case. All of, like you saw in the video, all the tickets were sold out. They only had 2 available, and we were going to try to drive up there 8 hours, but I was only there for a few days, and I had already spent countless hours, like I think 14 hours total, actually an entire day, in a train, in a plane coming home from Los Angeles. So that I was not in the mood to spend 8 hours in a car driving up there and 8 hours back, only to have like 2 or 3 hours in Cebu like that. Ironically, this smaller trip, the next morning we decided to go to another beach a little nearby, but that ended up taking just about the same amount of time. I think it took about 5 to 6 hours, and just to get out of Manila took about 2 hours. The traffic is so bad in Manila. I can't even I'm not even exaggerating. Just to get out of Manila, it was pretty bad. So it's it was a difficult decision, because I could have spent a little more money and have flown directly to Cebu from Japan. But then my brother lives in Manila, right? So we have this, you have this conflict of interest. Like, what are you going to do? Like, do I need to tell my brother to fly out to Cebu just to say hello? And, I just wish things had been planned a little bit more, and I wish it hadn't had cost me so much money. It cost about Rokuman, which was about, I will say about $750 something from Japan to fly out to Manila, with the hotel included. So it was just very disappointing that things ended up that way. Some of the things I didn't end up showing you guys was there was a goddamn dead dog. And if you're part of my Twitter, you were lucky enough to get that shared with you. But it was a very frustrating thing to see, like the when you got to that beach that we ended up going to. There was no food, and right around here I even mentioned maybe we should pick up food or something like that. And I think Joanne and my brother, they had a different idea of where they were going. I don't know how we ended up at the beach that we went to, but I think they did actually have a different idea of what to see. But unfortunately, it did not come out to fruition this particular way. Wi-Fi and the internet connection was a whole nother problem for me specifically. As you already know, the inquired stress I had with the Star Wars, trying to get the Star Wars reaction, and I feel bad because, my brother and company, they don't know anything about that, like that life, and me trying to do the YouTube thing, but the Star Wars, specifically a Star Wars reaction, is a really, really big deal, and I wouldn't say it would break my channel, but it can certainly help make my channel. So it was very stressful to have to deal with that at the same time and also put them through that. There were some other issues going on as well. So now let's definitely talk about the mentality of the Japanese young girl and how this can really affect things. I tell my students this all the time, but did you know that there's something called the Paris syndrome? What that is, the Paris syndrome, it's an actual mental disorder, a sort of condition that happens. And if you go to Japan, you're a Japanese woman and you go to Japan, in these books in Japanese, there's actually a Paris syndrome hotline that you can call. And what happens essentially is a lot of young Japanese women, they grow up reading these girls mangas, and they have this image of what Paris should be, and wee 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 and beautiful blonde beautiful men, right? But when they go there, it smells like piss and urine and such, right? And they have this mental breakdown, and that's called the Paris syndrome. There's an actual number in the back of these tourist books where women can call and they get talked to and like, it's okay, don't worry, it's not so bad, you can come back to Japan really soon, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. In other words, we call it culture shock. Well, this essentially did happen here in Manila by the time we actually got to this beach, as you see approaching here. By the time we got to this point, there were so many sort of problems and so many sort of delays and sort of things that brought myself, my girl down, and just the entire group, but we all just tried to stay very positive. And unfortunately, once we got to this particular beach and saw the shores, it was just it was a little disappointing, but again, we tried to make the best of it. Unfortunately, there wasn't really any of the promised restaurants that were around the shore, so we had to end up going to this village, and I don't have any of this on camera because I think at this point I was just so done with the trip and I was kind of afraid. Actually, we ended up driving to this little village nearby. Everybody, I'm talking like 50, 60 something people, everyone around us, like something out of The Walking Dead. Everybody was just staring at me, staring at my group, and I'm used to people staring, but never to the point where if I just say hello, people don't wave back. Kids just stared. They just stared and they wouldn't stop staring, and it was a very uncomfortable feeling. We went into 7-Eleven and we bought some. Everybody was looking at us. It was really weird. I mean, white people, just imagine. I don't know. Like I said, I mean, black people, they know how this feels when you go into like a white neighborhood and everybody thinks you're going to steal something in a convenience store. But white people, I guess imagine 38 Days Later or something like that, or the Walking Dead, or like a zombie flick. That's basically what that was like, right? So we're trying to make the best of it, right? And we go into this like dilapidated area with the village, like all these, like something out of Agrabah or like, in Aladdin, where all the merchants are having these dilapidated homes, huts falling down, there's flies, there's open meat everywhere. We go to the butcher, and there's like a goddamn pig head on a hook, and there's meat everywhere, but on top of the meat there's also flies just crawling out of every orifice, right? And I think it was at this point, I'm referring back to my girl, who every little bit of problems that have been building up over the last couple of days just gave her a mental breakdown, and she ran right out of this village area with tears in her eyes, crying, and just had this like mental breakdown. And everybody, like, all these like merchants were like looking and staring because everybody was still staring at us at this moment, and it was a pretty difficult situation for her. I told a lot of my students this, who are my students are usually around their 30s or so, and they completely understand, because they completely understand the culture shock where, Japan is kind of outside. Japan is different from the rest of Asia, and I think that's one of the things is Japan tends to be a little maybe too clean compared to Asia. And the only thing I can really compare it to is actually Hong Kong, but I still think Japan is probably the cleanest country in Asia. And I think that also goes to a little bit of a point of why a lot of Japanese people sometimes consider themselves a little separate from Asia. They don't really, they know they're Asian, but they consider themselves to be Japan first. And I think there's a lot of reason behind that. There's a few other places in Asia maybe I can think of that are really clean and polished, but nothing quite like Japan. So it was kind of a big culture shock. I think even not just for me as a foreigner. I kind of expected it, especially with the children. That was a little upsetting to me to just see kids with coins, coin cups, and going up to your car and trying to open up the car door to ask for some pesos and such. Excuse me. That was kind of a little disappointing, a little disheartening. and just a little sad for me considering I used to work with kids so much. It just made me so sad. On the way to the airport, there was even a young child that was holding another young child, a baby in her arms, asking for money. And these things, it really hurts a lot. So, and then I already told you the story of how when I drank a lot of, like, I tried to just drink myself into having some fun on the beach. And first I saw a dead bird, then I saw a dead dog, a dead puppy on the beach, and then I saw a used syringe. So I ended up tweeting that to the president, the current president of the Philippines, to let him know what's going on. So it's good to see that at least he is taking some sort of action to clean up the drug use situation. But yeah, that entire hut, everything that was going on, it was a interesting experience, but certainly not something that I probably would want to experience again. The only problem is the timing. If everything is going to be a little bit difficult this time around, if I were going to do it again, I have an open schedule, so that's okay. But as I mentioned earlier in the story, it's very difficult for Japanese people to get a time off outside of the time allotted for them. So hopefully in the future we can figure something out. I don't hate the country of the Philippines. I have a lot of fans out there. I certainly hope to go back there at some point in time again and actually do some sort of meet and greet. I know I have a lot of Philippine fans that would love to do that. But I guess I'm just going to have to spend a little bit more money to get a nicer location or something like that, maybe. We shall see. Well, I hope you guys liked this story, and I talked a little longer than I would have thought. Not much more I can say. I'm actually trying to decide whether or not I'm going to let this video run all the way towards the end one more time, or just cut it off a little bit early for you guys. The Starbucks was really, I think, well, let's just see if we can time this out a little bit more. The Starbucks was really good, and I really liked that donut. It was damn delicious. Anything else here? The chorizo, man, we were just talking about it 5 minutes ago, how we would love to see some more of that kind of food. And I looked pretty messed up. Alright guys, that's it for now. Thank you so much for hanging out with my little story. If you have any questions and such, please leave them in the comments below. And I'm out. Peace.